Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Engine House. I'm your host, Gandy Dancer. By the time my lovely wife edits this, I'll be probably past my surgery date, and I won't be available for much of anything for a week or so. And for the time being, I've taken a little break from building, and gonna do a little something different. I'm working on the layout itself. Maybe I'll get some of that in on the next video. In the meantime, Hansel and Gretel's Confectionaries is, for all intents and purposes, it's finished. There's a few details I did not shoot video on. I'll explain it when I get back to that video. In the meantime, I'm going to show you all how to turn this into this. Okay, you can see Shop Kitty is going to be involved today. She's not sleeping. And we're going to be doing a little bit here. So, excuse me. I've got a little bit of everything here. Every industry that I have been to in my 25 years of trucking, they have junk piles somewhere. Many of them do. They have stuff that breaks, stuff that wears out, and they just throw it in a pile out somewhere, and that's where it ends up staying. Mills are great for that. Mills will have all kinds of stuff floating around, and but pretty much every industry I've been to, mining, milling, anything, any place that builds, that makes something, has junk piles here and there. It never fails, unless it's on a small piece of land and they have just enough room for the industry. They're going to have a junk pile somewhere. So we're going to make a little something here on a budget. Some of these, like this, are HO scale. That's a fan. Okay. Honestly, is it going to matter? It's in a junk pile, right? I've got a few things here. We have this. This came off a deodorant. It's going to be cut up. So did this. Because I have COPD, thanks to the war, I have a inhaler I use. This is one of the cartridges. This is going to be part of it. This is all going to be kind of a junk pile here. And first off, we need to get Shop Kitty out of the way. This is also a part of the deodorant, stick deodorant. We all know the brand. I don't need to tell you. Anyway, we need a base for this, plaster of Paris, and we're going to carve this up a bit. And we're going to get on here because we need something as a base. It would appear I need a new blade. And we don't really care what it looks like because it's just kind of, if it's a pile, we want stuff piled and junk, and we're just getting a base going here is pretty much all I'm trying to do at this point. So we have that, and apparently I'm going to need to find my blades and change that. Now, I got a little mixture of everything here, and I'm hoping once it's glued down and primed that it is going to look, and it's, once I get this ready to take primer, you never want to shoot oil-based spray paint directly on foam. Most of you will know what it does, but it will eat the foam, and it won't really, it'll soak in there. It'll look like junk. Acrylic paint, model paint, paint this all day long, and it will be fine. But you want to do some kind of a coating on this. There's a modeler out there that does dioramas. He's not necessarily railroad. He does all kinds of different things. He uses Mod Podge water, Mod Podge, some glue, and some paint to give it a texture so he can tell where the Mod Podge was before he starts painting. I'm not going to get quite that carried away. I am going to throw in a bit of plaster here. I don't want a whole lot. Trust me, this makes quite a bit. And I forgot a couple of things. Happens every time. Okay. It happens every time. I swear I'm getting things set up. This is what happens when I'm shooting up here where the light's better than downstairs. I forget stuff. I want to make sure I roll my sleeves up. Whenever you're working with plaster of Paris or anything like this, I have found out that it's better to wear some of these if you're working with plaster or a lot of paint. I notice the plaster tends to dry my skin out. I've done this a couple times, and of course, you know, I'm using this, but sometimes I'm using my finger to kind of spread the stuff out while it's drying. And I've had some of it on my hands, and I've noticed afterwards my skin's really dry. So it does not hurt. Shop Kitty today is wanting to be right here where I am. Now, a little bit of plaster of Paris. This stuff, this is about 12 bucks here for this, okay? So it's not that expensive, but I'd rather have too little than too much, okay? Because once it starts to harden, once you get it mixed, you have about 5, 6, 7 minutes to use it before it starts getting too hard and you just can't keep adding water. So I'd rather have too little than too much. And we'll just start here with a little bit of water. And we'll mix this up. And this does tend to take some getting used to how to mix it because, as you can see, it's rather soupy in there. So we're going to add just a little bit more. I can already see this isn't going to be enough, so it's not going to hurt. Don't get carried away. Go slow. You will have some time, especially if you just did what I did. It's kind of soupy. I wouldn't walk away from it. But you got some time to work with it here. If you've never worked with this, there's a video I have in one of my earlier videos on how to make homemade Sculpt-A-Mold. Another guy had some different options on doing it and using plaster of Paris and different materials. And I've found that the one using the egg cartons, just like him, I experimented with a couple and I decided that the one with the egg cartons was probably the best one. And that's what I've been using on my scenery downstairs in the engine house. Now we want to spread this out and put it on kind of like cake frosting here. And again, you got some time to work with it, so you can kind of move it around where you want it, get it into places here. And I'm not using, of course, the egg cartons technique that I was using. If you wanted to, I could have ground up some. I've got some downstairs, but I just wanted a roughly, not roughly, I wanted a smooth surface here somewhat. I'm going to be gluing things to it and adding sand and dirt and other stuff to it. So I am hoping that the plaster by itself will do the trick. And of course, again, I get it all over my fingers. And I'm shooting this morning. It'll probably be a couple of days of shooting because there's things that have to dry thoroughly, like this. And in between this, my wife is going to be blocking some of her crochet at the table. We kind of share this table between us. If the lighting was better down in the engine house, I would probably be down there shooting my videos down there. But I find the lighting is so much better up here. Okay, I'm going to let that set for just a minute. And then I'm going to let it, then I can work it some with my fingers. In the meantime, I'm going to clean up my mess right here. Be right back. Okay, that part being done. We're going to wait for this to set up a little bit, like I said. And I'm going to check to see. There's now one thing I will mention here. If I do, like I notice there's a spot here that doesn't quite have enough on it, or a spot over here. If I spread this out and there still isn't enough, before I spray this with primer, I can hit those spots with some acrylic paint, and that will also protect the foam underneath. You could technically paint the whole thing with acrylic paint and then do whatever you wanted to with it, but you want something here that looks like dirt and garbage and whatnot. So that's kind of the look I'm going for. So we're going to let this set up for a few minutes, and then we'll start on some of this other stuff over here, making it look more like trash than what it really is. Be back shortly. Okay, I've put that aside to set up a little bit, and I'll check it here in a couple of minutes. In the meantime, I broke out the Dremel. I cleaned up my workstation. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but with plaster all over it, I figured I probably didn't want to be sticking my hands in it. Now, I have the gloves on still because I'll be checking that here in a minute. In the meantime, I'm going to put on my reading glasses, and we're going to do a little cutting on some of this stuff here. If you don't wear glasses or have something like this, you probably want to put safety glasses on, okay? Safety glasses are a good idea. I don't intend to cut too much of this, so I'm hoping stuff doesn't fly. But I'm going to wear these. With any luck, it'll prevent anything from getting straight in. So we're going to go ahead and start on some of this. And of course, Shop Kitty is going to be right here in the way. Okay, now I'm going to check the plaster over there and see how that is. And then we're going to switch the bit on this to something a little less aggressive and do a little sanding. We don't want all of this off of here. We want some to look like it's been cut with a torch. So I may just do this with a, a knife. I have my trusty razor knife here. And I do need to sand off this label on this thing, canister. That needs to come off. So anyway, let me check the, I'm going to be sweeping the floor here. This had a lot of stuff thrown around. And again, that's why you want to make sure you have something to protect your eyes. A lot of this flying off. So let me check this over here. See what we got. Oh yeah, this is getting hard already. The consistency on this is, and you can move it around a little bit with your finger. I can see space right there. That, and you don't want it too smooth because again, this is supposed to be a dirt, nasty pile of stuff. We try to get as much of the foam covered though as possible. And I went a little overboard here. Let's there is a point to where you need to just stop, and I went past the point. So we're going to be adding some paint to that to cover it up. In the meantime, we're going to leave that alone, and I'll be right back here to the camera, get these out of my way, and throw this out. Okay, right back again. Change the bits on this so that I have something a little less aggressive. We're going to put the glasses back on. Oh, by the way, you notice this over here. I think I mentioned in a couple of my past videos that I'm a writer. I wrote that book, it's been about 10 years ago. And this is how I met my wife, from this book right here. Shameless plug today. I just got a few in. There's a writer's, an author event happening in May, and we ordered some of my books. I have this, and I have some children's books and another book, and the others are still on the way here. They haven't been shipped yet. But anyway, shameless plug. That's my first book right there. It's sitting over here today, and the moose is, if I can get my hand right, there's the moose up there with the cow, and of course, Clarence here, the moose, he hangs out with me here. Anyway, let's get back to this. I think I like the idea of just taking it off with a knife or just with my fingers a little better. And as I've said, some of this stuff is HO scale. This is some stuff I had when I was still working on HO. and it's trash. It's from a, you know, some of the castings you can buy. And I figured if it's sitting off somewhere in there in the pile, it's nobody's really going to notice the scale difference. It's junk. That's what it's supposed to be. So when it's all painted up, it's going to be junk. I do need the sander for this, and I'm going to, of course, rough this up. So we're going to do that. Okay. That's it for today. Blaster has to set up over there, and I have to get ready to prime that. Then I have to, of course, glue all of this on it and prime it, and then we'll paint it. So for today, we're calling this good. We're not done yet. So I'll see you tomorrow. Also, guys, I made quite a mess here. If you're going to use the dining room table like I do, clean up your mess. You don't want an angry wife. It's not fun. Trust me.
Did you make a mess in my kitchen?
I would never, dear. Never. So, for today, the messiest part of this is over. I'm going to clean up the mess, and we are going to begin again when everything is dry. See you later. Well, good morning, everybody. It's the next day, and the night before, I had not had a whole lot of sleep, and I realized that I had not explained some of what I was doing, and I had not finished some of the stuff that I had wanted to finish. So I'm doing that today. In the meantime, though, before we go, you see over here at the lovely wife, we have our respective craft areas. She has her craft room, and I have, of course, the engine house down in the basement. I actually have more room than her, but the lighting is better here, which is why I shoot videos here. On the other hand, she doesn't have much room upstairs. Come here, kitty. There you go. She doesn't have much room upstairs for blocking, which is what she's doing right here. This is polyester, and this is, I think, the third one. Third one? It's one of the ones she's been working on. Third one. This is a weekly thing a woman comes out with and puts online. And this is blocking. If this was wool or cotton, it would be wet, and then she'd be stretching it and blocking it. This is polyester, so here in a little while, she'll have her hair dryer down here. Acrylic. It's acrylic. I don't know much about yarn. I listen to her. She's the expert. But the only place she's got big enough to set this up is on the floor. And our age, getting up and down off the floor isn't something you want to be doing a whole lot. So today we're kind of sharing the table. I have a little bit here that I can do. I don't need a lot of room. So we're going to do this. But anyway, the piece I made yesterday, when I got done shooting, I realized that was way too big. It was more than what I wanted. It was not what I was looking for. So I went and did this. This is a smaller, thinner piece that I have down in the basement. I cut a piece out and I made this. And then I cut the center out of this. This is a lid for a deodorant. And I put a screen piece in here. And this is going to be painted and rusted, and it'll be sitting here. And then I had some of this is some rug hook material that I had sitting here yesterday in the package, and I'm going to rust this up, and it's going to look like fencing or something down here. And I'd forgotten to do that. Again, I should not shoot videos when I'm half asleep. That just doesn't work. And of course, I took a notch out of this, and I cut some other plastic down. It's bits and pieces. And here in a little bit, I'm going to be taking this stuff all outside and shooting it with primer. It's very cold out today here in the Crown of Maine. But the weather's absolutely, you can see the sun trying to come through the curtains here. Well, I got the curtains closed. It's absolutely gorgeous day outside. And clean up this glue here before it dries, and then I end up having to get yelled at by the wife. I'll glue on the table. Anyway, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put some sand on this. I have this, and I use this as the foundation for some of the couple of buildings. You know, the confectionery. Looks like, to me, it looks like concrete that's starting to fall apart. But I'm going to use it here, and then I'm going to shoot it with some primer. There's a couple of ways I've seen people do this. They put it on first and then put on some diluted glue and then hit it with isopropyl alcohol, and it spreads it out. I think it makes too big of a mess, really. I mean, it can be done that way. I kind of prefer this method. And we're going to glue the cat here. This shop kitty is really just kind of wanting to be right here. We're going to put some glue down on this, and we'll probably put some of the other diluted stuff down as well. But we're going to lay this out. And it looks like I need to clear the nozzle on this a bit. And then, of course, we're going to use this. And we're going to get the glue as much as we can spread out here. The nice thing is, if you don't let this dry, I can clean this brush and reuse it if I don't let it dry out. Now, I'm not real worried about getting it all the way to the edges, because it'll probably, some of that will break off. And if not, when later on, you'll also notice I got this setting on parchment paper. I had the other one setting on parchment paper yesterday, and I liked it because not only do I keep the mat clean, but now when I'm using the sand here, it won't get all over everything. It'll mostly stay on the parchment paper. I can put it in, whatever falls off, and dump it back in here. So now we're going to set this aside. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to set, as you can tell, blocking this stuff takes a long time. She's been working on this since before I started shooting this video. It's not an easy process. Her crafting stuff, the crochet, I always thought it was easy, and it's not. I couldn't do it. My grandmother used to crochet Afghans many, many years ago, and I had quite a few of them for a while, and I kind of lost them in the divorce. So we're going to put this here. We're going to give it a good thick coating. You can see she had the hairdryer out, so she's getting ready to start blow drying. So I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to... I don't need a hairdryer. So that I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to take it outside. Always, by the way, you can see I have the spray paint here. I have some white here. This is going to get spray painted white, and the rest of it's going to probably be spray painted gray. I can't stress this enough. Well ventilated area. It's fairly above zero out there in the garage, but it's ventilated. If I shoot it out there and bring it in, it won't freeze, and I won't be sucking in fumes. So you always spray paint in a well-ventilated area. Now we're going to put some of this. You can see some of it just runs right off of there, which is why I don't like this method as much. And then get Shop Kitty out of the way. The one thing that I do like is once you do hit this with some isopropyl alcohol, the glue does tend to sink right in, and the cat did not like the smell. So now we're going to let this dry, and then we're going to take it outside, and we're going to spray paint it, and we're going to let it dry, and then we'll start doing the rest of it. In the meantime, I'm going to give up the table to the lovely wife so she can get her blocking done. And we're going to share table today. So, okay. I've got this glue dried. I spray painted this. The other stuff has been spray painted. And as every modeler knows, we're now waiting for paint to dry. The wife has finished blocking the one project. As you can see, it's not there, but you have these other ones. If my fingers will find she has these. How many of these? Total?
There will be 20 of these.
Yeah, 20 of these total for part of a blanket she's doing for another project for her Sunday group in Presque Isle. They're doing a blanket. So she's doing this part of it, and I guess there'll be more. So now she's going to be blocking these. So as you can see, it's, again, she has her craft room, but getting up and on, she was on the floor for the first few of her other project, and getting up and down off the floor is not something either one of us really want to be doing a lot of. So she wanted to do this today, and I wanted to do this today, and I said, let's just share the table. This is what happens when you're happily married and your wife's craft work and your craft work kind of collide. So in the meantime, I've got to wait for all of this stuff to dry. The other parts are sitting over there on the kitchen counter drying. It's very cold outside. I think it's still right around 0, a few degrees above. So I spray painted them quick and brought them in the house before they froze. I am done for the day. This all will dry, and then tomorrow I will be doing some of the gluing and painting of the stuff, and hopefully I will get most of it done. My surgery is coming up, and I'm not going to be wanting to do much of anything for a little while after that. And again, this will be posted sometime after my surgery, so hopefully I can get most of this done. Anyway, that's all for today. We'll see you next time.